Is India a democracy? Well, clickbait aside, we need to understand how the government works to answer that question. Yes, before jumping off buildings or getting shot trying to cover more serious news, we decided to warm up a little bit and see how the government works. Hey Siri, how does the government work?
I'm sorry, I cannot able to help you with that one.
With Apple Intelligence having let us down, we look to Google for answers.
A few moments later.
The government of India operates under a federal parliamentary system, which means we follow the federal system where the power is distributed between the state governments and the central governments, and the parliamentary system wherein a bunch of people elect representatives that then form the legislature that go on to control the government. The government of India has three branches. The first is the legislative branch. They make the laws. The second is the executive branch. They enforce the laws. Third is the judiciary. They interpret and implement the laws. This framework was designed to balance power and make sure that the states are governed efficiently. But what's happening in our country is
First video, bro.
Let's begin with the legislative. The legislative in India is divided into two main components. One being the parliament at the federal level and the second being the state legislative. The parliament, or what we like to call India's most awkward threesome, is basically the president and the two houses of the parliament, the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha, trying to make the relationship work, but like every other threesome, someone's getting more action. The Lok Sabha is like that auntie at a wedding, determined to find faults with everyone. So get this, they can literally demand explanation from the main organizers of the event, basically the government, at any time. They can do this by completely ghosting the president's speech, rejecting money bills, passing a censor motion that basically says you're not wrong, you are embarrassingly wrong. And fourth, my personal favorite, they can pass this thing called cut motion, which sounds like something you tell a really bad editor who edits using AI. Meanwhile, the Rajya Sabha are like that passive-aggressive roommate that leaves post-it notes on all the dirty dishes but never actually confronts anyone. And if you're still not convinced by the Lok Sabha's power, the Council of Ministers are directly responsible to them. A vote of no confidence that only the Lok Sabha can pass can dissolve the government. Now, if that sounds unequally distributed, it is because it actually is. Picture a game of political musical chair, where some chairs come with actual power, while some are there just to complain about the music. Now, this would be a perfect way for me to segue into the disturbing history of chairs and how they were manufactured in the 19th century. But because we don't have time, we'll move on to the Council of Ministers. The Council of Ministers, or the Indian Justice League, is the team of elected officials led by the Prime Minister, who assist the President in running the country, forming the core of the government's executive branch. We'll get to that in a minute. But for now, let's see how the Justice League is doing. The President is Amanda Waller, has the authority but mainly watches from above. The Prime Minister, that's Batman. No actual superpowers but runs everything and picks the team. The Cabinet Ministers are your core Justice League. Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, each protecting their own ministry. The Ministers of State are your B-team heroes, some running solo missions, others backing up the main crew. Deputy Ministers, think Teen Titans, learning the rope but still essential. But unlike the real Justice League, the Council of Ministers needs to pack their bags if the Lok Sabha gives them a thumbs down. There is also a headcount limit saying that at any point no more than 15% of the Lok Sabha strength can be in the Council of Ministers. And while the Council of Ministers falls entirely under the executive branch of the government, it is very crucial for you to understand how they work and who they are, so you can truly understand the power of the Lok Sabha. The second branch of the legislature is the state legislative. They are responsible for local lawmaking and handle everything from healthcare to finance to the reason why we're stuck in traffic every Friday. They also play a crucial role in budgeting and oversight, ensuring that the state budget is not spent carelessly, while also holding the state government accountable, overseeing their actions and ensuring that they are transparent as well. And perhaps the most important feature of the state legislative is that they give people a voice in the government, allowing local interests to be equally represented during the lawmaking process. Legislative Assembly, or the Vidhan Sabha, is presided by the Speaker, who maintains order during debates. In bicameral states, the Legislative Council, or the Vidhan Parishad, is headed by the chairman, while the state government's executive branch is headed by the chief minister. The governor is just the ceremonial head. This entire system is basically set in place to ensure a level of efficiency and transparency. And now the last part of the legislature, the President of India. And we ask ourselves the same question that you guys have been asking. What does the president actually do? The President of India is like the former monarchy. Fancy and important looking, but they're just a ceremonial centerpiece. They are technically the head of state, but they don't really run the country. That is the Prime Minister's job. But they still do a lot of things like signing laws. The president signs bills into laws, but rejecting them is as effective as telling a cat not to knock something off a table. Summoning and dissolving parliament. Basically, they can call politicians to work and then tell them to go home when they're not needed. Commander-in-chief. The military listens to them. I mean, in theory. Like, all decisions have to go through the government. So, unlike Trump, our president doesn't have some nuclear bomb. Emergency powers. The president can declare an emergency, but that's giving all the power away to the prime minister. And this is the legislative, where laws are born, debated, and sometimes dramatically killed faster than your latest relationship. But hold on to your civics textbooks because this is just part 1 of our Indian democracy breakdown trilogy. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to not miss our next video, which is about Zepto and Blinkit and how they are destroying our economy at your convenience.